Hello, my dear children of class 11 science. Today we even start a new chapter. This is the second last chapter that we do. Okay, from unit number 10, and that unit is oscillation and wave. And the chapter that we start is superposition of waves, number 2. And in this superposition of wave number 2, we specially discuss about one of the types of wave that is called stationary or standing wave. Okay, stationary or standing wave, and with this there is a topic called vibration of air columns. Okay, that part we need to do from this chapter. But to start with this, the concept of this stationary or standing wave, we just start with the concept of a medium which is required for this stationary or standing wave. Okay, and this medium is also called as bounded medium. So we start with bounded medium. So we can simply define a bounded medium as a medium which has a definite boundaries, okay, and whose boundaries are separated from other media by distinct surface. Okay, now to understand the example and what actually the bounded medium all about. Now, in this particular medium, like bounded medium, okay, the medium can vibrate. See, the medium can vibrate only with certain definite frequencies. Okay, this type of medium vibrate only with what? Certain definite frequency, and these frequencies are the characteristic frequency of that medium. These frequencies are the characteristic frequency of this medium. Okay, such medium are called bounded medium. Means bounded. What related to boundaries? The medium which has a definite boundaries. Okay, and the boundaries of this medium is actually separated by other media by distinct surfaces. And such type of medium, as I said, is called bounded medium. And as I said already, in this medium, okay, this particular medium can vibrate only with certain definite frequency. Means when the medium vibrates, it vibrates with only definite certain frequencies, not with varying frequencies. Okay, and this frequency are actually the main characteristics frequency of this medium. Such medium is called bounded medium. Okay, now to understand the example of bounded medium, the string of a sitar, the air column of a flute, okay, membranes of a tabla. This means these are all the optical. The instrument which the sound will produce. Okay, like string of a sitar is taken as the what? Bounded medium. Suppose when I take the string of a sitar or guitar also, okay, now this is also called the bounded medium. The string, okay, of a sitar or guitar act as a what? Medium, bounded medium. So string, so I am doing with the example, string of a sitar, it can be a guitar also, are the example of a bounded medium. Now the reason why this example as an example of bounded medium, because in this string of a guitar or sitar, this string of sitar or guitar can vibrate with definite frequencies, okay, and have a definite what? Boundaries. That means the boundaries are with a fixed end or two fixed ends, and these boundaries are also separate from other media by a distinct surface. Okay, such example is called the example of bounded medium. But as I said, there are other examples, like the air column of a flute which vibrate is also the example of bounded medium. The membrane of a tabla, okay, like leather instrument, these are all what? Bounded medium. Okay, now when any of these musical instruments, these are basically the musical instruments, are sounded, then the note of only certain definite frequency are produced from this. That means when these instruments are sounded, okay, when these are made to vibrate, note of only certain definite frequencies are produced from this musical instrument. That's why this instrument which produces the sound of definite frequencies, okay, and have a definite boundaries, is taken as the example of what? Bounded medium. Now the boundary of a bounded medium is basically classified into two types. That means the types of boundary. The types of what? Boundary In which medium? Bounded medium. In which medium? Bounded medium. So in bounded medium, the boundaries are basically two types. So number one is rigid, we call as rigid, also called closed boundary. Okay, number one is rigid or closed boundary. Now for this, let me just give the example. Okay, the example is both end of a string, sitar string, are the what? Rigid surface, are the rigid boundary. Okay, so one of the good example of this example is what? The both end of the sitar string are the rigid boundary. So these are the rigid boundary. Okay, these are the what boundary? Rigid boundary, or also called closed boundary. Okay, similarly, the another one is called the free or open boundary. Free or open boundary. Free or what? Open boundary. Now for free or open boundary also, okay, like if you take the closed end of a tube of an air column, that closed end of the tube of an air column is rigid, usually a rigid, okay, boundary, while its open end is what? Free. Okay, so tube of air column whose closed end is a rigid boundary, whereas the open end is what? Free. Okay, that's why this air column has two boundary, one is rigid boundary as well as closed boundary, open boundary. But when a wave travels in a medium, like wave can be like sound wave, basically sound wave in a medium having no boundary, then the wave continues to travel as such. But if the medium has a boundary, like rigid or free boundary, then the wave is reflected from the boundary. So children, remember this, when the wave gets reflected, if there is a what boundary? Rigid or what boundary? Free boundary. Okay, that means if the medium has a boundary like rigid or free, then the wave is always reflected from the boundary. Okay, so that's why such medium where there are the boundaries and the medium which vibrate with the definite frequency are called bounded medium, as I said. And bounded medium is comprised by the boundary, and boundaries are basically two types. One is rigid or closed boundary, one is called free or open boundary. Now this concept of this bounded medium and rigid and free or open boundary, okay, is very much required, especially for the wave to be understand, and this wave is called stationary wave or standing wave. So in the next YouTube video, you will be learning what is stationary wave or standing wave.